Hello and welcome to our EV meeting. Here you can see who is presenting tonight. It's a very long presentation or meeting, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing or listen to it, just pick out what you want to look and listen to.
Now, one of our other important business and group concerns is we are a group of enthusiastic volunteers. And for some of us, we've been doing this for 5, 6, 8, 10 years. There was a turnover in the board from the time that I came in about 8 years ago. Most of those senior citizens are retired, and sadly, we've actually lost several. And the basic message is here that we desperately need some more volunteers to step forward and help us with board activities. We certainly could use an audiovisual expert or someone that is enthusiastic about that technology. I want to thank Sandra Hall for helping out tonight. We're very appreciative of that, but we really would like to have a regular volunteer with at least an interest in that skill set. We also would be very advantaged to have a real board secretary, meaning group historian, and also even a volunteer coordinator for some of our activities. If you have time and available interest in supporting the adoption of emission-free vehicles, and as you know, we are an eclectic group. Some of us, let's just check. How many people are driving a Chevrolet of one kind or another, plug-in or pure electric? Thank you. How about Fords? Any Ford hybrid people left? Again, thank you. Audis. Anybody Audi? There we go. Volkswagen. A few still. And Volkswagen's coming on strong. Porsche Taycan. Anybody in the Porsche category? Oh, darn. Nobody's got that kind of a checkbook. Okay. And let's see, Nissan. Thank you. Those are among the early adopters. I had VIN number 320 Nissan Leaf in the world. And again, we have to thank Nissan for moving this whole basic evolution forward. Have I left out any? Oh, Hyundai, yeah, Kia. There's a couple, 3. And what is that other sort of big elephant in the room? Tesla. Okay. And again, what I want you to think about is, again, we are the eclectic group. We're not pushing any single brand or marquee. There are various functions and advantages to every different model. And, you know, essentially not everyone can afford a Tesla Plaid or even Model S. But there are more and more choices evolving every day. And we want to thank all of you for being adopters, but we need to increase the numbers. Okay, so I've made my pitch for volunteers. Peter, where are you? This is Peter Mackin, the club president.
So anyway, thanks to all of you for coming out. I know it's been over a year. We've been trying to slog along with Zoom meetings, and it sort of worked, but yes? Louder? Yeah, there you go. Louder? Okay, I just gotta swallow the mic and then it'll work. Okay, I should remember that. Okay, so as I said, I appreciate everyone coming out. As George said, we've got this place now for the next 5 years, so we're set. Although we should also remember and thank Nissan for their use of their meeting facilities, because that was also very great. Okay, so I guess I don't really have too much more to say. We could start with the agenda. I mean, shall I just go ahead and read off what's on the agenda so everyone knows and they can be prepared? So the first item up will be a short presentation from SMUD, followed by George talking about his road trip, then road tripping. Oh, I thought it was just George's road trip. Okay. And then Phil Haupt will talk about charging at home. We'll have a presentation on an e-plane. I don't know if the actual pilot is here, but we will still have that presentation. And then a short presentation from Civilized Cycles talking about e-bikes. And then, okay, so this UC Davis, George, what is that? It's just got a question mark.
Where's our UC Davis young lady? Excuse me, the SMUD. SMUD is first.
Yeah, no, I got SMUD.
Oh, SMUD.
Okay, well anyway, so, and then after, at the end, then we will just have, we've got display cars, which most of you may have already seen, but we can see them again. So, without further ado, we'll start with SMUD.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Kaylin Sherrill and I'm an education specialist at SMUD. I work really closely with Suzette Bienvenue, who I think some of you might know. I recognize some of you that come take some of our classes, so it's good to see you all again finally in person. So I work in SMUD Sustainable Communities on the education team. And what we do is we provide a plethora of community education for residential customers, business customers, and my main focus is for K through 12 students. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the programs and events that we offer for the K through 12 students. Okay, first, one of our big things, have any of you heard of our 2030 zero carbon goal? Yay, well, right after this, you'll all be able to raise your hand. We have this new carbon goal where we're hoping to create zero carbon emissions with our electric generation by 2030. It's the most aggressive in the nation, but we're super committed to having cleaner air and a better community, as well as just propping us up for doing things like you're doing with getting electric vehicles to make a more sustainable future. If you have any more questions on that, the best place to go is the website's right up here. It should be. There's two. You can go to smud.org/zerocarbon or cleanpowercity.org, and they'll have different things. You might see opportunities on there to get a free t-shirt or a sticker, so definitely check it out and watch the short little videos that are going to explain what we're doing, how we're going to get there, and then what you can do if you have any specific questions. How many of you have or know a high school student? Oh, perfect. Awesome. Well, do I have a program for you? We have, let's see if it'll change. We're not going forward. Oh no. 1 second, she says. Anyways, I'll just tell you about it. Woo! So our Youth Energy Summit is for high school juniors and seniors. And it is basically a 4-month project where the students work together in teams on a community service project. It starts with a 3-day summit in January where they learn from subject matter experts, people actually doing the work, about whatever the topic is for that year. And then for the next 3 months, they work on this project doing some sort of community service work, addressing the needs of our most at-risk communities, or addressing environmental needs, things like that, depending on what the topic is. And then during Earth Week in April, they present to a panel of judges what they did, and then the winner wins a scholarship. So the past year, we had about 130 students virtually attend our Youth Energy Summit and participate in 18 teams. And the theme was green and sustainable transportation. Go. Next slide. So here is a screen grab of our winning team. All of the videos and recordings of the top 7 teams can be found at smud.org/yes, Y-E-S. So you can watch them all whenever you want. They're super interesting. It's really amazing to see what these group of kids can do, really. This team in particular is from Mira Loma High School. They created a storybook, a digital storybook with this QR code to educate children on the importance of being sustainable and environmentally friendly. And then they used it in libraries, they used it in virtual classrooms. What was really amazing is that their idea started on doing a mural on a building and chalk events, and then they realized by doing this they could have a much wider spread. Some of the other ones included doing bike drives to donate the bikes to nonprofit organizations working with homeless communities. Another one was a group from Elk Grove worked with legislators to create some kind of movement to looking more into the need for EV charging stations around our area. And that was signed by Jim Cooper, so they're super excited for that. Those examples that I listed are some of them that can be found at smud.org/yes. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. If you have or know a high school student, definitely send them our way and we will give them all the information that they need. So, next. Great, it worked. So our next competition takes place or ends in October. Really, it takes place all year whenever people want to submit videos. It's our Charge Up Change video competition. This one's a little bit newer. It's super fun. How many of you have or know a middle schooler? 6th through 8th grade. Great. A little bit smaller, but you know, you're still here. So our competition is where they make a video, which a lot of us have gotten pretty good at that over the past year, about why electric vehicles are important, why they're so cool, and why other people should get them. So definitely, if they have you in their life, they probably already know that, and it'll be easy for them to make a video. So that is one. They can win a scholarship up to $1,500. Okay, and then the next one, I don't think the video will play. I believe this is a PDF, correct? AV people? That's okay. All of the videos are on smud.org/education. You can see the top 5 winners from the last 3 years. They're super funny. Some of them are really informational. This one in particular is more of an animated video, but there's some where the kids are doing acting and probably playing in their parents' Tesla, and it's really cute and fun, and you should check it out. Let's see. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, the last event that I'm going to talk about that takes place this fall is on September 11th. It's our annual electricity fair. It takes place at the Folsom Historic Powerhouse. Some of you might have been before. Some of you might have shown your cars there before, but there's an opportunity again to bring any of the kids of your family to come down and do some hands-on activities, learn about electricity, learn about electric cars, learn about the powerhouse itself, and then take some fun photos in the photo booth. If you have an electric car and you want to show it there, you can email, her email's right up here, and I'm sure George has it as well. It's Suzette Bienvenue can do all the bookings for that. You would be there from the start to finish, and she'll find you a nice shady spot. She made sure that I told you that part. Great, so thank you so much, and we'll see you at the electricity fair. If you need to see any of this again, or you're curious about it, if you go to smud.org/education, you'll find links to all of these. So thank you.
Okay, can we have, there we go, road tripping. I want to follow up that SMUD presentation with a very strong encouragement to show up at that powerhouse. It's a great historic site, and again, for those of us that have been out there regularly showing our cars, it's a great fun few hours to communicate the enthusiasm you have for your electric vehicle. Now, this next presentation, a few minutes on my part, is taken from basically an article that popped up on the internet just 2 days ago. Apparently, Car and Driver did a great experiment that turned into a bit of a race on the charging and functionality of 11 different electric vehicles. And they're based in Ann Arbor. So what they did was to set up a couple of critical waypoints, and the trip is 1,000 miles, and they had 11 different cars. Can we have the next slide? So again, this is all just available on the internet. How many of you are familiar with this article? Anybody? Not that many. So again, for those of you that are not fanatic about scanning the internet, again, this was a great functionality assessment, because as we are adopting electric cars, Some of them have different functions and functionality than others. And essentially, they all work for a road trip. They all work. But some of them require more patience and planning than others. And take a look then at this summary. That right-hand visual is a cumulative description of the driving time plus the charging time for these 11 vehicles to complete this 1,000-mile course. Each vehicle had 2 drivers, and they had to have sleep time from something like 10 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. But anything in terms of how they charged and where they charged was dependent upon the drivers of each of those vehicles. So they had to use whatever information was available, like all the rest of us, to do that road trip. And I think the takeaway for all of us is that every vehicle made it. Now, the dilemma is some of them took a lot longer than others. But what I'm here to tell you is all of us, any of you with electric vehicles with patience, can do road trips. I mean, I remember reading even 2 years ago, very early adopters with the Chevy Bolt, B-O-L-T, doing road trips down to Southern California and back. And they did it. They made it. Sometimes with a great deal of stress, but they did it. I want to also just remark that we've taken it for granted that we could pull into a gas station and get gas in 5 minutes and be on the road again. But anybody here have parents or grandparents that migrated to California in the 1920s or 30s? Yeah, they came in cars, but it took them a hell of a time. And, you know, those cars weren't reliable and gas stations weren't always available. I mean, we have really come to take a lot of conveniences for granted. Next slide, please. One of the big differences in taking road trips, and again, if you haven't done it and plan to do it, the warning is you need to plan incredibly attentively if you drive anything other than the elephant in the room, anything other than a Tesla. Because all of the other cars are dependent upon third-party charging services, and those are market-driven pricing. And you are a captive market. In a most recent published report, this one sad, I think it was, again, a Chevy Bolt driver, ended up paying $10 for, what is it? 9 kilowatts. That's like the equivalent of $5 or more a gallon for gas, because third-party providers can do that. So the warning for anyone with a road trip planned in anything other than a Tesla is plan ahead. And many hotels now have destination chargers, level 2 chargers, so you can pull in overnight, you're good to go. Some restaurants do. If you shop PlugShare, you can find those free charging points. But otherwise, be prepared with your credit card, a Blink, EVgo, or other proprietary third-party provider for charging. Next slide. That just summarizes everything that I've been saying. All of these slides, by the way, and a recording of the whole meeting will be posted on the club's website. So all of this information will be available as a matter of record. Okay, next slide. So again, the upside is if you're a Tesla driver, I just checked, these numbers are updated this afternoon. Tesla has almost 1,100 different charging locations. Most of those have 6 to 8 charging points in the US alone. They're adding 2 to 3 every week, that's locations. They're also, just in the last 24 hours, okay, how many people besides me saw the report from Elon Musk's tweet at 3 o'clock last night that the level 3 superchargers are being upgraded right now from 250 kilowatts to 300? Good show. We have a lot of crazy internet scanners. Okay, that's 6 times faster than most of the DC fast chargers. We're talking, again, for those of us that are addicted to road trips, and as I post, I do at least 7,000 miles a year road tripping. That's why I drive a Tesla. It's not because it accelerates or I like the interior or anything else. It's the only thing that really makes a road trip right now convenient. In 3 to 4 years, everybody will have caught up. Just not yet. Next slide. Okay, we're actually transitioning to Phil Haupt. Kayla? The segue here is the challenge for using an electric vehicle is not the brand, but the charging. And our next presenter is going to be talking about charging convenience at home. I thought that was natural.
Hi guys, my name is Michaela Peterson and I am the residential specialist at Haupt Electric. And today I'm going to be talking about getting a charging station at home, reaching out to an electrician and obtaining a quote and a permit from them. Next slide. So you get a new car, a new electric car, and you need to charge it in order to go. And in order to put it into your house, you have to call an electrician. The difference between calling an electrician for a regular light that's out and the difference between calling an electrician to get an EV charger is that when you're putting in a charger into your house, you're adding a load onto your panel. And so you can't just call an electrician that does typical lighting. With the electric car charging stations, they require permitting. When you're putting a load onto your panel, the wiring is a little different than typical lights or fans. And so you want to make sure that when you're finding an electrician, they do have history with the charging stations. You also want to make sure that they're including a permit into your pricing. And a permit's really important when you have a house that you own, because if you were to ever sell your house and you have that breaker on there for that charger, then you won't be able to sell your house afterwards. What you'll have to do is you'll have to go back and buy a permit from the city, and they might also fine you on top of the typical just getting a permit price. Another thing you want to make sure with your electrician is that that they're accommodating to what you're wanting with where you're putting your charger. And then you can go to the next slide. So obtaining a quote, a lot of businesses do different ways to put out quotes to customers. We've been able to streamline the process to where we can send out an email, and that email contains information that we need from the customer. We'll need specifications about your panel, about the car that you're getting, about where you're wanting the panel to go, and then we'll also need pictures of all those things. From there, we're typically able to put out a price based on the footage of from where we're going from the panel to the location, and then we're also able to, from there, decide if we need to conduct a site walk at your home. The reason we might have to do a site walk is if the installation is going to be a little more complicated than a typical installation just from the inside of, or the outside of the wall into the inside of the garage. If it's longer, or if we need to go up and down walls, that's when we would need to conduct a site walk. You also want to make sure that when you get your quote from your electrician, they are including the price of the permit in there. Sometimes people won't list it on there, and you want to make sure that is included. And then you can go to the next slide. And then one thing you want to make sure before you contact the electrician is that you kind of are looking at the different chargers you want to get. There are different chargers, whether it's a hardwire charger or a plug-in. The hardwire has pros and cons like the plug-in. The hardwire is directly on your breaker, so when you reset it from the panel. They also, some people believe, and sometimes the panel can give a little bit more of a better charge than a plug-in just because it is directly into that panel. And then the plug-in chargers are a little bit better because they are portable. You can plug it into an outlet, which we would install instead of hardwiring it to the panel, and then you're able to then just remove it if you were to move houses or go on a trip or anything like that. And yep, if you want to go to the next slide, it's just going to show you a couple different installations we've done, and if you have any questions, you can always ask us after. Forgot about this.
Okay, I've been reminded to point out to everyone that there is an electric vehicle display in the back corner, clear back in the back corner of the Auto Museum. And additionally, planned for October to December will be a special major exhibit on the history of the electric vehicle here at the Auto Museum. That is a work in progress, but it's scheduled for probable debuting in October. Okay, can we have the electric vehicle slide set? Excuse me, electric plane. Here, with apologies, the presenter sent me the slides and got them segued in for our program, and it really is interesting stuff, but he got stopped apparently in terms of permitting to fly into Sacramento today because he was going to fly in on the electric plane from Fresno. So we'll quickly go through his slide set. Major point, private planes are faster. Okay. Private planes are faster than cars. So in many ways, on a per mile basis, they can be every bit as cheap in terms of traveling costs, and particularly if they happen to be electric. I think that's the message here. He had a lot of beautiful graphics about the future with flying planes and cars. Next slide. I think that was Fresno, but it's not the Fresno I remember. Okay, trip that next. Again, this company is based in Fresno, and part of their purpose in working on this technology is to actually improve the employment force and working conditions in that Fresno area with some new high-tech jobs. Next slide. And obviously to promote another option for power plants for planes. Next. They're working on both small private as well as small passenger electric powered planes. You'll see some of the images shortly. Next. Remember, Fresno has some of the worst air quality in the United States. The inversion layer in that Fresno area almost never eases. Next slide. There's some of the options that they're pursuing design and production prototypes on. Next slide. One more. And that I mentioned earlier. One more. Yeah, they actually have a whole series of connecting commuter flight paths that they're looking to actually staff and provide function for. And they were going to be bringing the design side for a separate company that does charging, solar-powered charging systems that would be actually set up at private airports. Next slide. And they obviously could charge cars as well. Next slide. There's their prototype private plane. That's what they were planning to fly up to Sacramento with today. Darn. I don't know about you, but my interest in technology as a 7, 8, 9-year-old was with planes. And this kind of stuff is the stuff of dreams for me. Next slide. So this is their timeline for different prototypes they want to have in the air. I'd fly those to LA. Next slide. Like I say, the company has grand plans. They're probably looking for venture capital investment as well. Next slide. So out of that Fresno hub, this is kind of the range of their immediate service territory for commuter flights. Next slide. And a wider set of commuter connections that they could, in fact, provide services for. And next. Everything's out of Fresno. The world is centered in Fresno. Okay, next slide. Big background statement for their company. And I think this should be about the final slide. Next. And it was. So we don't have anybody to answer questions, but again, we'll have this information and the links will be available to, if you're into planes and just that kind of technology, it'll all be available at our SacEV website within a few days after the meeting tonight.
So, any chance we'll try and get the pilot or the old company to fly out to the next meeting?
It's always possible. Always possible.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll try to stay in touch with them. Yeah, I just got that message of the inability to get here at about 11 o'clock today. And I'm a big fan of the A-Team. Remember that TV show where everything went wrong and then at the end, don't you just love it when a plan comes together? Because sometimes that's just the way it has to work. Civilized Cycles. Where's my cycle guy? This is presented in their website as the Tesla of electric bikes. And I have looked over the various graphics and videos there myself, and it really does and is pitched at a wide range of functionality.
Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share with you what we're doing as a company. Thank you all for letting me share this company with you and what we're working on. I am a super long-time car fan, so it was, as soon as he said California Car Museum, it was a really easy sell for me.
10 minutes.
Yeah. The reason I think it's actually appropriate for us to be here with a bicycle when we are in a place with cars is that cars have been one of the things that have defined the way we think about transportation. Cars have been one of the ways we have defined the way we think about transportation, and obviously has a huge influence on our infrastructure and the way we live and everything else. And because of that, we have built the world that we live in, and we're facing some of the challenges that we live in. So I want to talk about a slightly different vision and how we can bring the appeal of a car to a much lighter and smaller space. Sorry, this is going to take some practice to get these two. Do I have my presentation? Okay. So Civilized Cycles, the basic concept behind Civilized Cycles is that throughout the history of vehicles, people have always kind of wanted the same things. We've all wanted to be able to take our friends and family with us. We've all have stuff, and we all want to do it as kind of easily and as most comfortably as possible. And the bicycle is a great way to do that for one person and no stuff. And comfort is usually a matter of how young and tough and willing you are to endure what's in front of you. It looks like I'm going to have to blaze on without presentation, but that's fine. The key concept that we looked at is when everyone else was building bicycles and putting motors on them and going, we're done, we said, hold on a second. We took a lot of technology out of bicycles that is really nice for consumers because we didn't have power to move it. And if there's power, we should maybe reimagine this as a motor vehicle and then put all the things in that make it nice for consumers. And we wanted to mirror as much of the car experience as possible. So we added the first bicycle that is fully designed for an adult passenger. And one of the pieces of technology that we use to make that happen is very much like what Tesla is now doing in their Cybertruck. And I should actually back up. It wasn't us who said Tesla of e-bikes. That was Tom's guide. But it's really nice to be called that. So to make this work for 2 adults, we have a full suspension system. Sorry, that's better. That is adjustable on the fly. So on a typical bicycle, most people have experienced that you hit a pothole. It's a pretty miserable experience. If you can imagine putting a passenger on there, they can't see it coming, they can't stand on the pedals, it's going to be 10 times worse for them. We brought motorcycle / car / automotive style suspension technology into the bike so that people would be comfortable, passenger or rider. Still flying solo. So basically, to make that work, we built an air compressor into the bike and an air shock, and we measure the suspension position just like the new Tesla Cybertruck. And at the touch of a button, we match the suspension to the weight that it's carrying. And so whoever you are, whatever size you are, relative health, you can step through the bike very easily. It's got a lot of power assist, so you can get going easily. And it gives you that sense of peace of mind in riding when you're over the road that comes from having a full suspension. It's very difficult to describe that, much easier to experience it. So if any of you are super interested in that afterwards, I'm happy to demonstrate it. If I had a mic, I could walk over there. I would actually show you how the suspension works, and I may do that. Oh, here we go. We're getting there briefly. OK, so we're getting the website. Good enough. Just to give you a sense of how this works in real life, if they are successful in loading the video that is just below this, it will give you a view of how the trunk works, how it can carry passengers, and so forth. Any chance of that? Being able to scroll down and just play the video that's right below the website, the page fold? Yes, right there. Yeah. So this is just our website, not my slide deck. But we want to show how you can ride off of a curb. The real change here, and this again is the hardest part to convey, is the change in the psychology. When you're on a rigid bike and you go over any kind of bump, you fly for a split second, and your brain knows that, which is why going over bumps in a corner is so unnerving on a bicycle, why your speeds, over, say, 15, 20 miles an hour, you start getting real nervous. Whereas in a car, it doesn't bother you at all. A lot of that comes from the road and your requirement to stare at it. So bringing this full suspension to anyone really changes the safety and the comfortable cruising speed of the bike. So the last piece, I'm just going to walk over and show on the bike because difficult to do over the website, but which is the trunks. So they're called panniers in the bicycle world, but we all have stuff. And the ability to not have to wear something on your back where it's going to sweat or is going to make it more uncomfortable for you is another feature that we've had. The whole goal is to make the number of use cases where you are, if you're faced with a choice of I'm going to the store and I'm going to take my big SUV or this other thing, that the other thing is the more appealing choice because it's faster, you can park it, it's cheaper, it's more fun, you can carry your stuff. It solves all those problems. The big point in my presentation that I'm missing is all the data around why short trips are where the low-hanging fruit of emissions reductions are. And that's, almost all trips in this country where emissions are produced are under 20 miles. And that's where e-bikes can really contribute. Sorry, most trips that create emissions in this country are under 20 miles, and e-bikes can really contribute.
I think that will unsnap so that you can carry it over there.
Oh. Oh, I wish I'd known I could go Rockstar earlier. I'll just quick show the trunk. So if you can see, the big step through allows for passengers to be loaded so you can stand on the bike and hold it and your drunk friend can climb on and not knock you over. The center stand, that is a double stand, creates a very stable bike so you can load a kicking kid onto the back or put heavy groceries in it. And then the trunks are this bit of magic. So this makes it much nicer to ride with helmets because now you can put the helmets in the bike and walk away when you get to your destination. It means that you can think about running errands and groceries without a sweaty backpack on you. It means that the volume of stuff you can carry comfortably and safely is much larger than you've thought of being possible on a bike. We can put 4 full Trader Joe's bags in this bike. We call it a TJU. It's a key measurement for shopping, but that ability to do 4 grocery bags means that this starts to compete with cars, or at least as a second car for those local trips. The suspension also, of course, applies to the cargo, so if you load this up with watermelons or something, you readjust the suspension, it's still going to have an absolute floating magic carpet air ride, which is our trademark experience. I'm happy to take any questions. All right, yeah?
What about security? Like, how does the electronics lock out for when you get installed?
That's a great question, and we get a lot of questions about security. For this generation, we have lock points on the frame where you can lock it. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, the question was, what about security and the electronics lockout? So I was saying that and that's a common question for this generation, what we have is lock points on the frame and a pin entry on the electronics to lock out the electronics. On future generations, we will have your sort of low jack and unlock it with your phone type functionality. That's becoming a commodity service that we can pretty easily integrate into the bike. Hi.
How much does it cost?
So,
Remember, it's the Tesla e-bike.
Exactly. So our goal with this bike was to try to create something sufficiently different that it created attention, and a lot of that was actually copying the Elon Musk model, right? The kind of wow factor that gets people paying attention and talking about it, and hopefully creates a bit of a culture shift. So it's not cheap. It's $5,500 now. We're trying to hold that price. The bicycle industry supply chain right now is completely insane. So it may creep, depending, but we're trying to hold that price. The vision is long-term with some volume. We know that the way we've designed it, we can drive pricing down tremendously and make this a much more mass market product. But just like Tesla, we can't do it when we're only selling 500 Roadsters in a year. It has to be when we're at real volumes that we get the efficiencies of mass production.
One more question, which one?
You, sir, in the front.
Where's the company located and where is the bike built?
The company is located in Brooklyn, New York, in the old Navy Yard where they used to build ships and submarines. And the bikes are manufactured and assembled in Taiwan. So Taiwan has one of the best bike building industries in the world, and we're built alongside of a number of other super high-end European brands that I'm not allowed to name.
And again, everyone, from 7 o'clock to 7:30, guaranteed, we have Q&A on a one-to-one basis, so please feel free.
Yep, and I'm happy to demonstrate the suspension. It's pretty cool. It does like a lowrider trick where it drops and re-levels and weight matches to you. And it's one of those things that the more weight that's on the bike, the better it rides. So big guys really, really love this bike. If you've had the experience of being uncomfortable on bicycles, please try this one. It's really, really different. And I'll get you afterwards. Basic stats, total weight is 90 pounds. We need that mass to be able to be strong enough for 2 people. Range is 30 miles on eco mode per battery. We can carry 2 battery, and we claim 400 pounds. I have seen quite a bit more done, but we can definitely put 400 pounds on here safely. Thank you.
And just an FYI, in terms of safety helmets on electric bikes, if you're not familiar, there's a growing opportunity, a whole variety of folding helmets for travel and for any kind of application. Again, on my early road trips, I have at least now 1 folding helmet. I have 2 more on order. Because again, these things are popping up, and they'd be easy to get even 2 of those in that kind of a trunk situation. And again, beautiful design. Thank you so much.
How's everyone doing? Right on, right on. I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited. I've heard a lot of issues and a lot of solutions. And one of the solutions that will be presented today will be my company. My name is Angel Melchor, and I am the founder of INN-CHRG. INN-CHRG is the Airbnb for electrical vehicle charging. Think about that. Airbnb for electrical vehicle charging. Electricity is everywhere. It is the most distributed resource in the United States. It's in every city. It's everywhere. And also, it's everywhere, but it's a challenge to find an electrical vehicle charge. And new car buyers are facing this dilemma every single day. When you go out and you leave your range, you leave the city you know, where are you going to charge? If you show up to the charging station, is it going to be available? Is the unit going to work? So there's a lot of issues. So essentially, oh, it's not. It's a very cool bike, by the way. I love it. Let's see. So essentially, our goal is simple: to provide EV drivers a charge where they go in advance or where they need guaranteed. Think about that, guaranteed charge. Our INN-CHRG marketplace is an app that lets you, if you have an electrical vehicle and you have a charger at home, you could put your charger in our marketplace and make money. Very simple concept. You don't have to build infrastructure. You don't have to pay $10,000, $15,000 to build a level 2 unit. There's already existing infrastructure, your home. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So our solution eliminates range and charge anxiety with every booking. So essentially, it's just the same concept as Airbnb. You use our app, you look at different locations, and you're able to decide what is the best choice for you. Essentially, we eliminate the idea of the charging station that's commercial. Think about this. If you're taking a trip from Sacramento to San Francisco to visit friends and family, you could go through our app, potentially find a neighbor or someone nearby that is in our marketplace. You drive up, the time you spend with friends and family is the time your car is being spent charging. Next slide, please. So our technology, our platform services electrical vehicle charging unit owners looking to sell a charge to the open market and drivers in need. And if you own an electrical vehicle, chances are you have experienced that need of getting an electrical vehicle charge somewhere outside your comfort zone. So our technology is very simple. You could search by city or GPS location. You could review the listing, really see what other drivers are saying about the location. In addition, the ability to book ahead, either on the moment or days, it is an advantage that as an EV driver, you really get that comfort that you know that when you arrive to your location, you are gonna have that guaranteed charge. Next slide, please. And as you guys already know, the target market, the market for electrical vehicles is about to exponentially boom. Right now, there's about 1.7 electrical vehicle owners and about 2.1 electrical vehicles in the United States. By 2025, that number is going to jump to 23 million electrical vehicle owners. Where's the infrastructure to charge? If you're taking that road trip and you're going to go and you want to buy that Tesla or you want to buy that Leaf or that beautiful Mustang Mach, where are you going to charge? Are you willing to take that risk? Well, with our infrastructure, it would be the most distributed charging network provided to anybody. So the infrastructure is already there. Every building has electricity. Every home has electricity. Why not set the future of charging in your hands? The majority of the money being generated should be generated back to communities. You could sell a charge and make money instead of having 5 or 4 corporations like oil companies make the majority of money from the fueling that's being done now. Next slide, please. So it's a very simple concept, just like Airbnb. We are the middleman. If you have an electrical charging unit, a level 2 charging unit, and you want to make money, we'll handle it for you. No worries, no interaction between you and the driver. It will be seamless. So that is the goal of INN-CHRG. And I am speeding up this presentation because I have a couple of minutes. But next slide, please. So if we pilot this in California, the money that could be generated to your pockets, it's in the million. We could capture about 25% of all charging events throughout California, and about $12 million will go into people's homes. You're making the majority of the future wealth of electrical vehicle charging. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit about us. We started earlier this year as a company. We have won multiple awards through UC Davis. We have won the poster competition. We have won the business competition. Currently, we have been invited to participate in 2 incubators, very prestigious. And right now, we are developing our minimum viable product. Every customer we talk to, they get excited. If you own an electrical vehicle, they say, yeah, I can see myself using your app. If you do not own an electrical vehicle, they're telling us, like, if this app was already, if I knew this app already existed, I would buy that electrical vehicle. So essentially, we're advancing the adaptation of electrical vehicle driving. And that's pretty much it for today. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I know there's going to be a breakout where they could ask questions directly. I'll be more than happy to chat with you guys and give you more about the concept.
Okay, now we're closing out. We're to our display cars. I'd like to thank our club president, Peter Mackin, who brought the Volvo XC40 Recharge, and Omar Sultan for the Plaid that was also giving test rides, demonstration rides. Outside, if we can have those slides up on the cars with the ID4. Okay, who's our ID4 provider? Did we have an ID4 out there? There we go. And the specs on the ID4, which is out there for you to take a look at. Definitely affordable because those will still have the federal tax credit. Decent range. 3 different versions, including a high-end version. Okay, next slide. I've got 2 minutes. Volvo XC40 specs. Not as many sort of range miles, but according to Peter, the choice was done by his wife, which basically was, as he said, happy wife, happy life. And she absolutely is basically generous in letting Peter drive it once in a while. And again, pretty good performance, right? 400 horsepower. Okay, next slide. That's inside, obviously, here for you to look at. Mustang, who's our Mustang Mach-E? There we go. Thank you for bringing a Mustang Mach-E. We really need many more of those. The downside is that anybody else catch the news on the Mustang Mach-E in Norway today? Yeah. Don't park them inside right now. 6 of them caught on fire in Norway in the last week. But so did some Teslas in the early days. It just is one of those steps in the process. Next slide. Okay. Go ahead and read that. Those are my personal statements. There's nothing rational about having one of those Teslas. There's absolutely nothing. It makes no sense at all. It's simply a whimsical toy for someone in their senior years having way past a middle-age crisis. Sorry, where's Omar? Well, that may not apply to Omar, but those are true statements on my part. But it's actually a good value because, again, as I post there, I priced out and almost ordered a P100D in 2018 when my Model 3 was delayed. And back then, a P100D was going to be $155,000 plus sales tax. And for those of us that are early order adopters on that, that's $119.90. I mean, $120,000. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's less than a P100D was 3 years ago. And that's also testimony to this gentleman talking about getting the price down on e-bikes. In volume and technology development, the prices are going down and the bang for the buck are going up. Next slide. This is partly what I wanted you to read. This is from Wall Street Journal. And the guy apparently did his test drive between Redding and Eureka on Highway 299. So I thought it was kind of neat that it was comments on the local road. What can I say? Thank you all for being here. It is 7:02. I think we hit it pretty darn close.
At a Sacramento Auto Museum, doing test drives with the new Plaid. First actual EV meeting since over a year. So how was it?
George, do I rank riding shotgun?
That was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I want to have again. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot believe what this car
Did you like it? Did your head go backwards a little bit? If you don't watch out. With the pizza delivery.
And he said that the car he really liked was
Tesla batteries in the back.
So how'd you get a hold of the Tesla batteries?
Oh, so those are first-gen Roadster batteries, right?
no, they're Model S.
Okay, they are. Okay.
Four batteries and put a second inverter in there, and then you can run the air conditioner. Now they're making these things for the air between 80 to 100 watts.
Yeah.
And it actually allows you to even off our current. So
Yeah, it's a capacitor that makes it run like three phase.
This, my first car when I was 16.
Wow, this is about the size of your car.